You know, with all these Inhumans supposedly popping up all over the world, you'd think the Avengers would take notice of that. I guess not. They're too busy doing vigilante missions and fighting each other, so... Eh. Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3. So this third season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Hydra's, split up. They're a thing again. Ward is running his own faction, but there's like another faction that's more powerful, and I guess they gotta unite and stuff, but S.H.I.E.L.D's after them both. S.H.I.E.L.D's also dealing with the fact that because the Mist was released worldwide, Inhumans are popping up. People are discovering that they have powers they didn't know they had, and the S.H.I.E.L.D. wants to get a hold of them, so they can teach themselves how to use their powers safely, maybe start their own team of secret warriors. The government's very sketchy and wants to keep him, lock him up, or at least that's what you think. And Hydra, of course, wants him, because why wouldn't an evil organization want to use superpowered peoples for their nefarious purposes? So all this is going on. At least that's what's been going on for the first half of the season, and then other stuff comes around. There's a big devilish monster thing called Hive that ultimately becomes the main villain of the show for the second half of the season, and kind of gives the second half of season 3 a bit more direction than season 1. That being said, the show overall, it just has its ups and downs. There are episodes in which I'm reminded why I like it, why I liked it in the first place, and why I'm still watching it, and then there are episodes which do the opposite, which ask me why I'm still watching this. I'm not going to talk too much on the specifics of the characters, or plot specifics, plot issues, or plot things I liked, anything like that, because ultimately, I just don't care. There's a possibility that this might be the last season review I do of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and there's a few reasons why. The problem Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is having right now is that it's being stretched too thin. It has its own corner of the Marvel Universe, and it can't become too big in that corner, or else they'll cause problems with the Avengers, and it'll leave viewers asking questions, which are already asking, why aren't the Avengers dealing with this? Why aren't they helping out? What's going on? So there's only so much they can do. It's kind of like watching a TV show that's a prequel to something else you already know. It's supposed to be an ongoing show, yet there's only so much you can do, and I think it's really starting to stretch thin this season. It got stretched so thin that ABC realized that a spin-off of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. just wasn't going to work. There's a bit more focus on this season for Bobbi Morse and Lance Hunter, sort of that will they or won't they divorced couple that kicks ass, that kind of thing. The reason being is because towards the end of the season, the two get written out of the show. Now, their fates are unknown and are supposedly to be told later, but they get written out of the show towards the end of the season, and it's supposed to be a backdoor pilot set up for Marvel's Most Wanted. That was the series they were going to star in. And I remember first hearing that ABC was going to pursue this, that Marvel Television and ABC were going to pursue this, and thinking, that's an awful idea. Well, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is already stretching pretty thin. Marvel's Most Wanted is going to be even worse. What can you do with that show? Thankfully, ABC passed on the pilot. They realized it didn't work for them, and I guess they just realized it wasn't going to work, because I don't think it would have worked. And another reason why I'm probably not going to watch Season 4 is because this fall, they moved it to a different time. A time I don't think I have the patience to want to stay up for. They moved it to Tuesdays at 10. So it started season 1, Tuesdays at 8, 7 Central. Well, it makes sense. Nice for it to start off the night, even though it's a new show, and you generally don't do that with new shows if you're CBS, NBC, and ABC. But they wanted to start off the night because they figured, we can really get a lot of people tuning in. And I guess it worked in terms of the TV show The Goldbergs. It also made sense because despite the fact that it being violent at times, lots of punching, stabbing, and shooting, the tone was kind of lighthearted. It was kind of meant for the family to sit down to. Maybe close your eyes at some of the violent parts. It's no Daredevil or Jessica Jones. It's not up to that tier. Absolutely not. Then in season 2, they moved it to 9 o'clock because they realized that 8 o'clock it was being slaughtered by NCIS, so they moved it to 9 o'clock on Tuesdays for it to be slaughtered by NCIS New Orleans. And that continued into its 3rd season. And now for season 4, because ABC would like to create a second 2-hour block of comedy, they moved Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to 10 o'clock. Because you would never put 2 comedies in the 10 o'clock hour. You just don't do that on broadcast network television. So they moved Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to 10 o'clock. I don't think I'm invested enough to tune in Tuesdays at 10 p.m. and stay awake till 11 p.m. on a school night to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't think it's earned my investment. I'm pretty sure it hasn't earned my investment for such a late time. Not to mention, ABC might just cancel it that year. I mean, the series has never been a ratings hit. It started out, like, the premiere had high ratings, and then it dropped to, like, 5 million, then around, like, 3 million a week, between 3 to 4 million a week. And it's a good thing it exists in 2016 when networks are a little more cautious about canceling a low-rated show, but they moved it to 10 o'clock on Tuesdays. How many people are going to be willing to stay up that late to watch this show? I don't think there's going to be that many, and I think ratings are going to drop further, and I think ABC will just end it. Either that or renew it for like a short 5th season to wrap it all up. But it wouldn't surprise me if they just straight up cancel it. I mean, they already did that to a bunch of shows this year. One of those shows, of course, being Marvel's Agent Carter, which they just canceled after 2 seasons. Very mixed about this season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Mostly found myself bored and interested at times, not interested at others. Just not enough to make me want to tune in an hour later next fall to watch more of it. Maybe I'll watch the next season on Netflix, but right now, that's kind of it for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for me. I know it's like one of the first shows I reviewed on this channel, so it's sad that I'm not going to stick with it all the way through. Or at least I don't feel like sticking with it all the way through. I don't know. Maybe I'll feel better in 4 months' time. Until then, thanks for watching my review of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3, and I will see you next time.